What's up my friends, welcome back. In this episode of remodeling my home, we'll be remodeling the bathroom, and this will be a full remodel because I want to change the entire walls. But what I don't want to do is to take out the existing bricks and add new ones because that will make a mess and also is a lot of work and also quite expensive to add new bricks, to add new stone to the walls. So what I'll be trying today is to use microcement. So in today's episode I want to show you how to clean the walls, prepare the walls, add the primer, then the putty for each of the joints of the bricks, and then add the 2 layers or 3 layers of microcement, sandpaper it, and add the finished look with the epoxy. And in that way we'll have a 100% remodel of the bathroom in just 1 or 2 days. That being said, let's get started. Okay guys, so let's get started. Let me show you how to add microcement, and have in mind that this is the first time that I will be using this kind of product, microcement, and so if I can do it, you can also do it. Now wait a minute. Before we add the microcement, I bet that you want to hear a message from the sponsor of this video, PCBWay.
Get PCBs like these ones using the services of PCBWay with amazing quality and incredible prices. Just upload your Gerber files to their website PCBWay.com. And have in mind you can select between several colors, gold-plated pads for better conductivity, different thicknesses, and amount of layers up to 14 layers. I'm always satisfied with my orders and the excellent quality. And the order process takes only a few minutes, and in just a few days I receive my PCBs well packed. Now my projects are more professional and work a lot better, with less errors. Excellent tracks and good precision for the pads, the vias, and the surface finish. So improve your projects by ordering your PCBs with PCBWay, starting from only $5.
Okay, so now let's add microcement to my bathroom. In my case, I will add microcement on all the walls and the floor, but the ceiling will stay like this because I don't want to change it. And also I'll be using 2 types of microcement because I want 2 colors. You will see at the end how it will look. So let's just go over the steps that you need to follow to add microcement, and then we just do it and show you the process and the final result. Okay guys, so the first step that you have to do is not even related with the construction site or the work where you will have to do it, all the walls. Is not preparing the walls or cleaning, it's just selecting the good product for your type of wall that you will use. And in this case, it will be a product, a microcement for a bathroom, but one of the most important characteristics of the microcement when you select it is the type of surface that you will use it. If it will be for moisture or not moisture. For example, if this will be drywall, it will be a non-moisture type of surface, but in this case, this is brick, this is this type of stone for bathrooms, this will be a moisture type of surface. So you have to go into the website. In this case, I will be using microcement from Epodex. Here in Spain you can buy it, I'm not sure in the rest of the world, but I selected this. This is not a payment advertised. I selected this because I like the colors that I want to use for my bathroom, in this case a green one and a gray one. And I've also selected another microcement for the floor. So you have to select a good product because the floor will have to be a lot more resistant, and also for the wall you have to make sure if your surface will have water absorption or not water absorption. In this case it doesn't have water absorption, as you can see this is stone, so I've selected a product especially for that. And on top of that you have to make sure that you buy, in this case, a microcement for bathrooms. That means that we'll have to add the putty, the microcement, and at the end they will also give you a resin which is especially made to cover the microcement and make it waterproof, mold proof, and also another resin for the floor to make it a lot more resistant. So you will see that in this tutorial we will have a lot of products because we have the mixture for the microcement, the resin, the putty, the primer, and so on. So pay a lot of attention when you're selecting the product for the surface that you want to use it, because there are a lot of types of microcement. Okay guys, so in a moment I will show you all the products that I've received from Epodex, because this is a kit. You can get the primer, the putty, the mixture for the microcement, and also the resin, and we'll go over each step while I'll be adding those to the walls. But let's just start by cleaning a little bit the surface. So for example, in my case, since I have stone on the walls, all the holes from screws, you have to close those with a little bit of putty, and also clean all the excess of silicone. In my case, you will see that I will be moving around the shower, the bathroom, the toilet, because I want to add new ones. But in your case, you might just keep the shower, the shower that you have in place, So you might want to cover it, because if some of the microcement falls on your bathroom or your bath, it might damage it. So pay no attention to me moving around the toilet and the sink, because in my case I want to change them, but I'm pretty sure that in your case, a lot of you guys, you will just want to add microcement and not just new furniture. So the first step is to clean a little bit the walls. For example, you have to take out the dust and also the dry silicone from other showers and so on. And silicone is a bit complicated because it sticks very well to the wall, so you have to scrape it with a razor and also sandpaper it a little bit. So sandpaper the entire surface. In my case, I don't care if I damage it because I will be covering it. And also, once you finish with the sandpaper and clean the big stuff, you should also pass some cloth, maybe with some cleaning agent or some alcohol, to leave it very clean. And then the second step, after you finish cleaning the walls, is to add a primer. Because you will see that if you try to add, especially on this kind of stone, if you try to add some cement or any other agent like cement or mortar, you will see that it will fall off. So you need some sort of glue, or primer in this case, to stick to the wall. Now you could go and buy universal primer, but in this case Epodex already sends a kit with primer, putty for the joints, microcement and the final resin. So I'll take that primer and cover the entire surface of the wall, and you will see that once it dries out, it will be like sticky. And once it's sticky, you can add the microcement on top of it. So that will be the first step, to add the primer. So let's just start, and I'll go over the steps while we are working on the walls. So let's get started. For sure that in your case, if you want to add microcement, you won't be removing your shower. But in my case, I want to add a new one, so I'll be removing this. So if you don't want to remove this, only add the microcement, skip this part, and continue with the tutorial. Okay, so now we have some clean walls until they are dry from the water. If you also skip the ceiling part, so you won't add microcement to the ceiling, it's recommended to add some painter's tape like this one all around the perimeter, because if you touch with microcement the ceiling, which in this case is drywall, it will get dirty and it's very difficult to clean. So it's better to add just some scotch tape, actually painter's tape, all around, so it will be easier to clean, and you make sure that the microcement will stick only to the wall and not the ceiling. So now that we have our walls clean, we can add the first element of this entire kit, which is the deep primer. But let me just show the elements that I received from Epodex, and then we start making the primer and all that. So the first element is the deep primer. This comes in a liquid format, as you can see, is a bottle of, I don't know, 2 liters. And then you can just use a roll and add it on top of all the walls and the floor. But in my case, the floor will be at the end, because I still have to add the shower plate here. That's not important for you. Once you have the primer in place on the wall, it will dry out and you'll see that it will be a lot more sticky. So we can add on top of that the microcement. But I've also bought the wall putty primer, which is also a primer, but it's in the form of a putty. So we'll use that to fill all the joints of these stones, and also the holes that I have from the previous mirror and all the other stuff that we had on the wall. So we use that putty to fill up all the holes on the wall. So first primer, then the putty, and then we add the microcement. The microcement comes in 2 elements, element A and element B, as you can see here. This is liquid, this is dry, and you have to mix them together, and you have the recipe here, so you should know how much quantity of each you should add. And by the way, this comes like in a white format, this white color. So if you want to add color, we have yet another element, which are those small bottles there. In this case, I bought a lot of them in gray and only 2 in green, because I want to make one wall green and the rest will be gray. And once again, you have to check the recipe on the bottle to know how much of that to add to have a uniform color. You mix them up, you add the first layer, wait for 6 hours, you sandpaper it a little bit, add the second layer, 6 more hours, sandpaper it, and then at the end we have the final element, which are this bottle here, which is the resin, and this will make the wall resist against water, mold. Also, if you drop something on the floor or on the wall, if you hit it, it will be a lot more hard, a lot more resistive. So we will use another roll and add the final resin on top of the microcement, and that's it. It will be ready. I have 6 of these bottles, 6 or 7 of these bags, 4 bottles of resin, 1 bottle of primer, a lot of colors, and the whole body. This is the entire kit, and you can select different amount of square meters when you buy it. In this case I have 28 for the entire bathroom, but 8 are for the floor, which I think they will go with a different resin. Anyway, you can select that and all the colors on the website. Okay, so now I start adding the primer on the wall, and it said that you could use a brush if you want, but you could also use this kind of rolls for paint. So I bought a bunch of this. I bought this support for just a few dollars. Now I'll start adding the primer, and then we also have the primer in the shape of putty. So then we'll fill all the holes and we'll be ready for tomorrow, because tomorrow I'll add the microcement. Okay, so I'm adding the primer. As you can see, it's liquid, so like some sort of milk, and add it to the wall. And as you can see, it's quite liquid. Maybe we'll add a few layers. Very easy to add. By the way, I've also read that you could use any universal primer like this one, which is a lot cheaper, and it has to be for this kind of surface that won't absorb the moisture. But since this factory already makes and recommends this product, this primer that will be compatible with their product, I'll just buy that, even if it costs a little bit more, because it's recommended by the factory. Okay, so the first layer of primer putty is on the wall. I'll leave it like that to dry for 30 minutes, and then I'll take the spatula and also fill the joints of the bricks, of the stones, because some joints are a little bit bigger and I want to fill those to have a smooth surface to add the microcement. Okay, so I finished adding the primer putty with the roller, and also then I take the spatula and using the same putty, I've added the joints, and now it's dry. So I'll just sandpaper it a little bit because I have some imperfection. This is not mandatory, it's not important, and then we are ready to add the microcement. Okay guys, so we are going to make the mixtures for the microcement. We need the powder, element A, the liquid, element B, and also the color. In my case is gray, but maybe you don't want color. And we also need a bucket, the shape that you want, but to be big enough to fit everything inside, and also the mixer. And the difficult part is to make the mixture between these two, because here it says that it needs to have a ratio of 100 to 20. So for each 100 grams of A, we need to put 20 of B. And that's the problem, because this has 7 kilograms and this has 2 liters. So the mixture won't be 100 to 20. We have to put 1.5 liters of liquid for 7 kilograms. Luckily, this bucket has markings for liters. So I'll add first the liquid, then the powder, and the difficult part will be the color, because this has to be 2% of the entire mass, which will be 8.5 kilograms. So 2% is around 170 grams. So this bottle has 100 grams. So I have to add one entire bottle of this one, but only 70 from this one. And I don't have a graduation. So what I've done is with a pencil, mark more or less where 70% is. So I will add only 70%. We mix it up and then we add it to the wall. Okay, so we have the paste, and now to add it to the wall, we'll use a metal spatula like this one, which is recommended by the factory, but they also recommend one of this one, which is made out of plastic or foam. And depending on the texture that you want the finish to look, you can try one or the other. I'll try both to see the end finish, because it's the first time I'm doing this, and I'll tell you how it will go.
Hey guys, I was just editing the video and I realized that I've recorded the video and I was recommending you 2 spatulas or trowels, plaster trowels, however this tool is called. And in the end, I've ended up using a different one, which is actually this one that you have right now on the screen, which is recommended from the fabric, from the manufacturer, for using with this kind of micro cement. And I've also used a generic, a normal plaster trowel that you use for adding tiles to your wall, and that also works quite good. So actually I've used 4 of them, and the best one was the small one which you have right now on the screen. Just have that in mind. So you will see me during this edit, during this video, using a bunch of different tools to try them out, but the best one was this one. Now we can keep with the video.
Okay guys, I've just finished making 2 walls because this is taking a long time. It's not that easy to edit, and I will take just a small pause, and I thought it should be nice to just tell you some tips that I learned myself, because this is the first time that I'm doing this, and you'll see in the videos that I'll put on the screen that at the beginning I was very bad at this. I mean, the paste will just fall off. I was using a different tool. Now this is a lot better. Actually, they recommend one like this, a metal one, but a little bit smaller and more elastic. And you will see that I will begin learning and going faster and faster. And I've also learned some new techniques. For example, instead of just adding the paste, I just realized that it was a lot better to just scrape it, and instead of just placing it like this, just placing it while moving. In that way you make a uniform amount of paste all around, and you can just add it, take it once again, add it. You'll see me in the videos, I would make a lot of this movement, just scraping it and just adding it like this along this edge of the tool, and then just edit it to the wall. Another tip that I learned, because this is my first time, so I've learned a lot with this, is you will see that when you make the paste using the ratio that the factory is giving you, you will see that the paste is quite wet, is quite pasty, it's not that hard, and it falls all over the ground. But this took me like 2 hours to finish, and by that time the paste was already getting a little bit harder. And when it's harder, it's a lot easier to apply it on the wall. It's easier to apply it on the wall, but it's not easier to just scrape it. So when it's more liquid, it's easier to spread it on the wall, but when it's harder, it's easier to add it to the wall. So there is a mix between that. But since this is the first layer, I will add it just like that. It's quite well for now. I will just sandpaper it, and then I think the second layer I will add it with a little bit more liquid, so it will be easier to spread it around uniformly. Actually, if you take a look on the bag, the factory says you that you could use a ratio between 100 to 20 and 100 to 25. So you can play around with the amount of liquid that you add to make the paste more liquid or more hard. Another thing that I've learned, actually I've made a mistake because I was so excited. I started just adding the paste in the middle of the wall. You should not do that. You should start at the top part of the wall and going downwards. Also have in mind that in my case I will make the floor as well, but if you don't want to make the floor, please take a lot of precaution and add some protection, because a lot of micro cement will fall on the ground, and I will show it, it's all dirty. So add some protection, maybe some cardboard or some kind of cloth and protection, painter's tape all around, and protect your floor. And then just start from the top side, add the paste, and then just scrape it very hard. You will see that you have to make a lot of force like this to just leave it all uniformly. Also, when like 10 or 20 minutes have passed, it's still okay to just move it, because it will get hardened in like 6 hours. So sometimes you will see me that I see something that is not well, and with a lot of force I press it down like 20 minutes later, and I leave it like this. So that's just another tip that I've learned myself. One of the best things that I've done was to add the painter's tape, because otherwise the ceiling would get so messy. As you can see, it gets quite dirty. You can see here that I took it out a little bit. So it is a very good idea to add some painter's tape to protect your ceiling if you don't want to make it. And also, as I've told you, the ground as well. In my case, I don't care because I will make the floor as well. But as you can see, it gets very dirty. Okay guys, so I've added the first layer on the entire bathroom, including the floor. So now we have to wait the 6 minimum hours, and then we have to sandpaper it. I'll try to use it by hand and also with the machine, and test the difference in between. And I'll use a grain of 40, also 60, and even 120 to see the difference. So let's just sandpaper the entire wall, and then see how it ends, and also add the second layer. Okay guys, so I was sandpapering the entire wall and I've just found the first small problem, I think. And you see, I was doing this first layer the last week because I come here to the house every weekend. So it says that you have to do it, you have to sandpaper the wall after 6 hours. So I thought that a minimum of 6 hours, but I think it should be that exactly 6 hours you should sandpaper it, because since it's past 1 week, the wall is now so strong that it's very hard to sandpaper. Even with my hand or with the machine, I still have some zones that have some small grains that are very difficult to sandpaper. So if you are trying to add the first layer at the last hour of the night and sandpaper it in the morning, you might have some problems. So have in mind that you have to count the time exactly with the microcement. I mean, not exactly, but at least at 6-7 hours after you added the first layer, sandpaper it, because it is a lot more easier and it will get a lot more like fine, the result. By the way guys, about the tools, they also recommend you that you could also use a roller to add the material, to add the microcement, because it's very fine and kind of liquid, and then pass the smoothing tools. But I didn't like this because it was dripping a lot, and I prefer just to add the exact quantity of material that I want on the tool and then make an entire area. And they also tell you that you would use a brush like this one. Now the brush I did use for the edges, because in the edges it's very difficult to get a straight line with that kind of tool. So I just fill the brush with some microcement and then carefully add a small layer of microcement on the edge, and the result is quite good. So I did use the brush, but for the roller I don't really like it. Okay guys, so I just finished adding the second layer of microcement all around. Actually, it's not just finished because this was 2 days of work. It's not that easy to add it. It's like almost 2 hours for each wall, and I have 3 big walls and 1 small one. The floor is a lot faster because you just drop the material and then just spread it around and make it smooth. And now I have to sandpaper it once again and leave it for more than 6 hours. And I have to say, it's still very difficult to sandpaper it, and I thought it will give me like a very smooth finish, but no, it still has these areas where you can see where the cement is merging, and it actually looks like concrete. And that's the idea, because all the pictures that I've seen online with microcement have this look. So it's not my fault that I'm not doing it right, but this is the look that it should have. I like it a lot to have this like modern look, like real concrete. And let me just finish sandpaper it, and the next layer will be of resin to make it withstand the moisture and also be a lot stronger and withstand more years. Okay guys, so I just finished polishing the second layer, and I just realized that in the video the first layer and the second layer kind of looks the same. Don't worry, for me, in reality I see the difference. I see that the second layer is a lot better and smoother, but in the video it just kind of looks like the same. So I added another layer of sandpaper. This time I've used a lot more the machine and the hand only for the edges and the small parts. But with the machine you go a lot faster, and also you have this light, so when you put it against the wall you can see all the imperfections and the errors all around, so it is a lot better. But you don't have to use a machine, you can use it by hand as well. Especially for the floor it is a lot better with the machine, because you don't have to lay down, you can just do it like this standing, and it is a lot easier. So now that I have all the walls polished with the second layer, except this one because I still have to add the second layer here, but don't worry about that. Now all we have to do is to prepare the resin, add it with the roller, and then our job will be finished. And I really want to show the end result and compare with the before and after, and can't wait to see the final result when I'm adding all the furniture to the bedroom. Okay, so we are done with the microcement. We have both layers. Also everything is polished with the sandpaper, so we are ready for the final element, which is the resin. So we have to mix this, but once again, I'm not sure about the quantities. I mean, I'm sure about the quantity, but they send me some extra material A, because here it says that for each 1 kilogram of A, you have to add 100 grams of B. They've only sent me 4 of this, so in total 200 grams, but they send me 2.5 kilograms of this. So I have half a kilogram more of element A, which I'm not sure if I should add a little bit more or just spare it for the final touches. I'm not sure. Anyway, let's just mix this resin together and add all around the walls and also the floor, especially in the zone of the shower, because you want to protect your walls against moisture. So this will do that, so we'll be sure that it will be waterproof, so no water will pass and wet your wall. So let's just do that, take the roller and add it all around. Okay guys, so I just finished adding the resin to these two walls and I took a break just to change the roller. The sponge, as you can see, is destroyed because in the end this is still concrete, it's a very hard surface, and from moving so many times it will get destroyed. So I placed a new one. And by the way, these sponges are those typical very cheap sponges that you can get from any bazaar store for like 50 cents for the roller, and I think it's just $1 or $2 for the handle, so you don't need professional tools just to spread the resin all around. And I just wanted to say that you should insist a little bit more with resin in the shower area and especially the floor, because those are the area that more water will get. When you get out of the shower, you will wet the floor, and the shower, obviously, it will get water from your shower. So at least 2 layers for those areas. And for the normal walls, with just 1 layer is enough. If you have more resin, you could add maybe a second layer, but just insist a little bit more for the floors and the shower area. At least 2 layers, because then in that way it will waterproof it even more and withstand for more time. Okay guys, so I'm outside of the bathroom because I've just added the resin on the floor and I don't want to step on it, but it was quite easy to add it, especially on the floor. It's very easy to just pull it out and add the epoxy. The walls are a little bit more difficult, but anyway, now I will just wait for like 2 hours to dry, add a second layer, especially for the shower and the floor, and that's it. The process of microcement will be ready. That's it, the second layer of resin is added. As you can see, it's still shining, and I will leave it like that. I'll go home and the next week I'll show you the final results. So guys, that's how I've added microcement to the walls and the floor of my bedroom. The ceiling, I will leave it like it is. And it already passed like 3 or 4 weeks. I've already added the shower and also the toilet. I'll show that in just a minute. I just wanted to give you some tips and my opinion at the end of this project. The first thing that I've seen after a few weeks is that the floor is getting dirty quite easy, because in the end it's just like cement, it still has cracks. So while I was installing the toilet and the shower, I made some dust, and all the dust will stick in those cracks and it looks a bit dirty. Another interesting part is that it's very important to have the required tools. Now, even this spatula that the producer was recommending me to use, I didn't like that. I like my spatula because it was a little bit bigger, I had more force to apply, and it's very important to have a lot of force when you apply the microcement. And the other thing that I've realized is that it's very easy to add microcement, but it's very time consuming. It took me a few days, especially because I have a lot of square meters, and also you have to leave it to dry, then pass the sandpaper, then add another coat and leave it to dry once again. So have in mind that for a few days you won't be able to use your bathroom. Another very important thing is that the producer says that at 6 hours or so you can already pass the sandpaper. But in my case, I have to leave this house and go back to Barcelona, and then when I come back, it passed like 3 or 4 days. So the microcement was so hard that it was very difficult to sandpaper. So make sure that you sandpaper it, you polish it after 6 hours and no more, because in a few days it will get so strong that even with the machine it was very difficult to sandpaper. So do that as it says in the recommendations. Not minimum 6 hours, but exactly 6 hours. And in the end, I really like the final look. It's very modern. I will show the shower in just a minute because I really like the fact that with that resin, it acts like a plastic. So I have basically my entire bathroom waterproof. I can add water to all the walls and it won't stick, it won't pass to the other side because it's quite well waterproof, and I like that. So I'll show you some pictures. And that's it. That's how you add microcement. It's quite easy, but a little bit time consuming. Hey guys, it has been like 4 months. We have already moved into the bathroom. So let me just make an update of how the bathroom is right now with the microcement. I really like the modern look. The microcement is still the same. It has not aged, and I like how it merges with the furniture that I've chosen and with the shower. And on this side, this is the green side. We've added a mirror. And once again, a wood furniture for the sink. And this is how it is right now. In the shower, we have merged the modern look, concrete look of the microcement with the black details. So everything in the bedroom is black with gray. One thing I don't like is the merge between the colors. If you also want to make 2 colors, have in mind that having a straight line like with paint is very difficult because this is microcement. It's a little bit rough. So it's very difficult to get like a straight line. So what I will do, I bought some wood stripes that I'll add exactly in the corner to cover that, because otherwise it doesn't look that good. And again, we bought some black details to merge with the colors. Oh, and by the way, very important, we have changed the floor. I do like the floor, but having the floor, the wall, and this wall, the same color was very, very like boring. And not just that, but the floor was like so rough that any small dust will get into the cracks, and it was quite difficult to clean. Even with the mop, the dust will still be in the crack, and it just looked like normal concrete. It didn't have this like modern look of micro cement. It looked like this were a layer of normal concrete. So we decided to change it, and we have added special tiles for bathroom. And not just that, but this also makes like a contrast, because this is a little bit darker, and it will make a better contrast with the wall and the rest of the furniture. So yeah, having the wall and the floor the same color is a little bit boring. So guys, that's it for this video. I hope that you have learned something new about micro cement and how easy it is to add it to your walls, to your bathroom, or any other kind of walls, including your kitchen. Actually, I've seen people on internet making wood from furniture from wood, and then bath the entire furniture into micro cement, and the final finish is like granite or sandstone furniture. It's quite awesome. You can use it inside of your kitchen or your floor, wherever you want. It's quite an awesome product, and I hope that you like it and you have learned something new, and also maybe give you the energy to maybe start one project like this for yourself. And that's it. See you in the next video. So guys, here I am in my workshop, another video that ended. I hope that you like it, and the most important part, I hope that you have learned something new. Anyway, I just wanted to give a thank you to all my patrons, to you guys, to the viewers who are supporting me, liking my content, sharing it, commenting below. Just check my website, check my shop, check my t-shirts. All this kind of stuff will support my channel. So thank you very much once again.